Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
I think on the surface it looks like I don't really care. Don't care, like, not that I'm walking about like my clothes hanging off me like that, but I like to, like, I don't know, I find when you're getting presented with the image of yourself constantly and having to look back at that, I find that really tough.
My name is Halina Rafai, and this is the A Sonic Hug podcast. Over the coming months and episodes, you will hear the voices of people from different walks of life who deal, experience and battle mental health issues. This podcast explores body image. Before we started recording, I didn't know what theme James was going to focus on. We've had conversations in the past about grief and the music industry, but never about body image, and as recording progressed, the shifting conversation was something I was not expecting. I've seen James play with his band, the Twilight Sad, several times. I have got to know him over the years, and whilst he always struck me as being introvert, I never expect him to speak on this subject. I suppose that's why this has been one of the hardest podcasts to produce, as it has really highlighted a struggle by someone that they have hidden so well. This is James's story.
My name is James Alexander Graham, and I am a wannabe musician in a mid to lower level indie band called the Twilight Sad. The mental health issues I have experienced, basically, I don't know, like everybody, just anxiety. I think I've got anxiety off the charts. I have anxiety about, before the pandemic and the lockdown, like even stuff like stepping outside the house, going to the supermarket, going on stage, coming off stage, looking at the phone on my phone, worrying I'm not good enough. That's possibly the biggest one, is constantly worrying that what I'm doing is not good enough, or I am letting down people, is my biggest thing. And the anxiety I get from that is, I'd say that's like a daily thing, but it's also something that I shove down quite far down to not talk about, if I'm being honest. And also, I suppose with what I do, it probably seems like you need to be a confident person, but I think you can probably see, if you know the band and the music that I write, that you can probably see through that. But at the same time, I find it all extremely hard but gratifying at the same time. Being something that you love doing the most but you're most terrified of at the same time is a complete battle in your head constantly. I think I've got better because life has forced me to try and steamroll past that, if you know what I mean. Like, now I'm a dad, and nothing's more important than putting things to the side so you look after that small person, and a husband as well, which is a weird one, because I think that's a pure old school mentality, is that a husband needs to be strong for the family, where it's a partnership. And I think I've got that. I definitely know I've got that within my relationship, but at the same time, old habits and old things that you get from when you were growing up in the wrong, I don't know, how do you say it, family institute, which is bullshit, if that makes sense. I don't know, I think I've always had it with, it was the kind of boy I was as well. Like, I was never like this, I don't think I was the confident boy. My dad's, I don't know, you would see as the most confident person going, and to me he feels like he's got no fear, where I suppose my mum was a bit more timid, I suppose. So I possibly get it from that, but I don't know exactly where or how I turned in to that person. I think being from a small village, I was the only boy in my school. It was me and 5 girls. Maybe felt kind of out on my own a little bit, then going to high school and then having no friends there at the start. I think I am a sociable person, but at the same time, I'm just terrified of putting yourself out there. It's a bit stupid from a guy that's a singer in the band, but there's 4 other people there that are willing you on and that you're doing that for, you know. So you feel it becomes it's a responsibility as well. So maybe if I was left to my own devices, I would still be in my house doing absolutely nothing. But I don't really know where it came from, but it's always been there, if you know what I mean. I have like ups and downs with it. Sometimes I suppose in my head I'm just like, no, you have to do this. I think it's putting yourself out there to be ridiculed or told you're not good enough is quite a hard thing. We all have our selfish tendencies, and you know what I mean. But I'm very conscious of trying to please everybody apart from myself, if you know what I mean. I don't focus on myself a lot. I think I really care about what other people think of me, and that's a big pressure in every aspect of life, not even just talking about music, like every aspect of life. I hope to one day just kind of completely shrug off and just be like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that relate to musically what I'm speaking about shows me that being able to speak in that form is important. Try our best to be James, if you know what I mean. Like, but sometimes don't even know who that is. And I suppose with the industry that I've decided to go down, that luckily the type of music we make, I kind of hope that people don't care about appearance and stuff like that as much. But in the back of my head, I always think that they do. And I hate pictures of myself. Again, picked the wrong industry to get into to do that. So constantly having to see that is, I find, pretty hard. Whereas people are very nice with it, just sending you a picture someday, just going, I took a picture on stage, and then you look at yourself and you're just like, oh, God, I hate everything about that. Even though it was a kind gesture, if you know what I mean. Which again, sometimes I think is absolutely stupid, and I berate myself about that, but at the same time it's ingrained in me. I think it's a pure high school thing. You know, like the hierarchy of social groups and stuff like that, and being at the bottom of that to begin with, like, and being like, God, that's terrifying. I find body image and stuff like that a really difficult thing within what we do. That any onus is put on it is a bad thing, if you know what I mean. I had really bad asthma, and I took a massive kind of asthma attack, and then I got put on like a nebulizer for probably a month or 2, and then get put on steroids as well, and then basically I put on a lot of weight, and didn't shift or do anything about it for years. And when I was that kid at school that one year over the summer I went and I ran. I just, for my own mental health, started running. And I've really struggled from that moment on. Like, if you look at the band's career and like pictures of me, my weight really goes, and just the way I look, from everything I don't like, if you know what I mean. So, and I think it's panned from that moment, if that makes sense. It's been a real issue with me for my whole life, which I haven't really ever spoke about. I don't know, I don't see anybody speak about it that's like me, if you know what I mean. Like, my wife will tell you like how much I struggle with diet, appearance, and I think on the surface it looks like I don't really care. Don't care, like, not that I'm walking about like my clothes hanging off me like that, but I like to, like, I don't know, I find when you're getting presented with the image of yourself constantly and having to look back at that, I find that really tough. Just being that, like, I don't know, like I had good friends, like I would consider a pretty good, a good childhood, like, as in my parents were great to me, I was given opportunities, all that kind of stuff. But like, just at school, you know what it's like, kids can be rough, if you know what I mean. And then, I don't know, you find bullies are there throughout life in different forms. I fluctuate in my appearance. people can be kind sometimes, and then you're striving for them to go, oh, look. Do you know what I mean? Like, but to me, it's a daily. I now I've changed my diet completely. I don't eat meat or dairy anymore because I'm trying stuff to just feel like I don't have to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So trying everything I can to get in a routine for that to not take over my life. The feelings and emotions that I get when, say, I'm feeling low about my weight and appearance and stuff like that, be it rational or irrational, are like that. I'm definitely sad and just zero confidence, zero self-confidence. The amount of times that I've had to try and forget about it and go and, I don't know, be a confident person, come across like a confident person, and just going to put it deep down, well inside, having a massive battle with myself, going, I don't know, stupidly, I think, as well, like totally irrationally sometimes, but sometimes I do think it's rational, and I think I drive my wife mental with it, but annoyed at myself for thinking that way when it's possibly not the truth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, just striving to find a balance that just to be content. There's like these pillars in my life that I would say that are the constant, right, battles, if you know what I mean, like weight, self-confidence, not good enough, which is strange to talk about because it goes on in my head all the time, and I know I keep on relating it back to what I do for a living and stuff like that, but it's such, for me, like, especially the internet, even though those comparisons aren't there, but they're in there in my head. If you know what I mean, you just see people and you're just like, fuck, how can I compete with that? when it's mental, because it's like our band's got nothing to do with appearance and stuff like that, but it's just a mental block in my head. At the moment, I bought an exercise bike during lockdown, and I go on it an hour and a half a day. I'm doing like 50 kilometres to allow myself maybe a treat now and again. Whereas if I didn't do that, I would absolutely berate myself. Like, I'll once this is finished, I'm going to go home, put my bike on the balcony and do that, because I feel better from it mentally anyway, to be honest. That's not just a body image thing, it's turned into a mental health thing as well. But it was spawned out of being like, you need to do this to make sure that you actually eat properly instead of starving yourself. Like, do the exercise so that you can maybe not have to think about that as much. Which is, again, another battle throughout the years of going being really healthy, like, which is just not sustainable. You know, like you can't live like that. You know, like, and I did for a long time, and then I go on tour and absolutely destroy myself, and then came back and feel horrible about myself for doing that, and just go on this. Just stay on that train, if you know what I mean, of complete and utter self-loathing in a way, I suppose. And then down the line, I'll then start something else and completely yo-yo again. You know, I'll be honest, it's stemmed from being in high school and that asthma attack, being put on steroids, and you know, when you're not doing like steroids, it's like if you're not exercising but you're eating, then you just put all the weight on and stuff. And I think I still look at myself like that person. Walking into anywhere, like with a public domain, I've got my anxiety hat on, just going, what's that person think of me? Have I offended that person? Or like, by doing absolutely nothing. And I feel stupid about it as well, because there's so much things that people have actually, this is me possibly trying to bury it down again and make an excuse for feeling this way. Is like, I look at other people who have got so many more things that they should be anxious about, but overcome it at the same time, where it makes me feel inferior and stupid to feel that way, which again, it starts a cycle of not liking myself too much. But on the plus side, I'm very lucky in that I have an amazing wife and an amazing son now, that I've noticed my focus has changed when I don't have to think about it, and when I'm with them, I can be someone who I quite like, but then when I step into the world out with them, I feel useless. Do you know, like that kind of caving in of your chest, like just sinking into itself? I get that quite a lot. I just kind of disappear into myself a little bit, or put a character on sometimes, possibly that pretends that everything's okay, if you know what I mean, like a facade, if you know what I mean, which is, I think, is part of my personality as well, but just it's over exaggerated just to make up for the anxiety, I suppose. You just go, I think a lot of people maybe in the past thought I was quite, when I'd go out, but hey, how you doing, James? A good laugh? And like, I'm not a good laugh. I think I can be in doses, but like I'm beginning to realise that when I'm playing, all I'm thinking about is not messing up, and that's a problem with me as well. I want to enjoy it, but a lot of the times it's that feeling of don't mess up. But then I got lost in it as well, which obviously people can see, which is a real relief. I think there's like, for the 2 hours that we play for, it's the most comfortable and uncomfortable that I feel, if you know what I mean. The lead up to going on now, just because I've done it so much, I'm nervous, but at the same time I've done it that much that I know how to ride the waves of the feelings that I'm getting. If something goes bad on stage for me, if I don't feel like I've done myself justice, or anybody, the guys with me, or the people in the audience that have paid their money, I can go into a complete hole, if you know what I mean, and I find it really hard to get out of that. But at the same time, it can be the best thing for me, I think. December was the last time I played a gig. I think I needed a bit of time away from it as well, just to kind of balance my head out a wee bit. As much as I do think it is good for me, I think that, like most things, even if your favourite thing in the world, you need to take a break from it, especially when it's such a mentally challenging, emotionally exhausting experience. I think it helps me, and then it gives me other issues at the same time as well. But I would take the other issues over, if like I would keep those other issues if having that time on stage, the positives that it gives me outweighs anything, if you know what I mean. But it's not what I thought it would be. When people talk to me about it that maybe don't know the type of music that we make, or even listen to the type of music that I like or has impacted my life, same maybe family and stuff like that, they're just like, oh, getting on stage, going and singing, like, oh, it must be, you know, like great fun. Like, I see the people on the telly, they're having a great time, and it's like, that's not what it is for me. You know, like, how do I explain this to you without you going, okay? You know, like, how do I explain to you that this isn't just pop stars? I'm not just going on top of the pops. I'm doing this because I have to do it, because it helps me. And then they just look at you, they would look at me like I was a weirdo, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, I never got into this to be that version of what a singer is supposed to be. And I think that leads back to when I see other people that are in the same profession as me that look fucking amazing and are obviously were born to do this. And then I'm just like, but how am I meant to be then? That's not me. But how do am I meant to be like that? So I try my best just to be myself, but you can probably, by the 10 minutes into speaking to me, you can see that it's a ridiculous battle in my head, just because you've been told it's one thing, and it's not that for me. You know, everything that people that want to aspire to do that, the reasons that they want to do it, that's not the reasons that I want to do it. Why do people's opinions matter to me so much? I think it's where I grew up, and that's not bashing where I grew up at all. I'm really glad and happy that I grew up where I did. I wouldn't be me if it wasn't for that. You know, I think it was ingrained through school for some reason. and just looking at other people and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life as well, seeing other people be successful and knowing what they were wanting to do. Like, if I didn't have this, if I didn't have the band, which is another completely anxiety trigger, is if this ends tomorrow, I'm fucked. You know, like, I think I've joked about that quite a lot in the past, but to me it's actually, I don't find it that much of a joke anymore in my head, because I'm like, I've got so much more responsibilities now. Now, I don't take those responsibilities into my work, if you know what I mean, because that's got to be what it is, you know. But out with that, I've got responsibilities that I need to look after. So if we all know what the industry is like that I'm in, and it's so 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone. I like to think that we've carved a path that there'll be some sort of longevity in it. But once it finishes, because it does, all things come to an end. What am I going to do next? So that's a massive anxiety trigger. I don't know where it stems from. I think the wanting people acceptance. I don't know where that comes from. Which is weird, because ultimately when we write music, I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about it. I mean, I do when it comes out and stuff like that, but when we're doing it, it's just like we're only pleasing ourselves, which is, I mean, I'm really glad about that. I don't have that part, that anxiety doesn't come into that side of what I do. Thank fuck it stays that far away from it, because it would be tainted then, I think. I think within our society, possibly growing up and stuff like that, there's just always the element of competition, and I don't really like the element of competition at all. It's like, and not to be like, see all these competitions where people, you compare albums against each other and music and stuff like that. Music's not a competition for me, and I find stuff like that really, it's a trigger. Whereas, because throughout life we're putting ourselves against each other, where things should just be celebrated for what they are, or people should just be celebrated for what they are. Whereas we live in a place where it's like a constant, like, vote for this, do this, like, is this person better than this person? Do you know, like, I find that too much. I wish folk would just ask you the question, even at a young age. I don't know, maybe in Scotland, a mentality of we're quick to, I don't know how to say this without offending a million people, just get on with it. You know, like, I don't know, from working in, when I had a job before the band did anything, and it was a very kind of male orientated job, and it was very much like, if you said anything about your feelings or anything like that, it was like you were shot down. It was like, pff. The term man up is probably one of the worst terms out there for young males, I think. If I ever hear that, it kind of makes me sick to my stomach. What does that mean? Like, I find that's a problem, and from a young age, young people in general need to know it's all right to be different, because ultimately you're not that different from anybody. Like, the most popular person in school has all these anxieties and all that stuff anyway. It just manifests in different ways, you know. I think it should be encouraged for kids to ask them how they're doing. And yeah, if they don't want to, you know what it's like when you were a kid, you were like, leave me alone. But they need to know that the option of when they want to talk is there. And I don't think that was promoted in primary school or high school when I was younger. The whole stiff upper lip kind of, there's quite a Scottish mentality sometimes of just like not talk about your feelings and just kind of gloss over it. And I still do that to this day, not within my music, because it's the one place that I can definitely, it's accepted. If you know what I mean, like, why is it acceptable for me to write music and release music and sing about these things? But then if I brought this up around a dinner table with everybody, it would be like, ooh, everybody just disappears into themselves. The harder subjects needs to be easier to talk about, and I think that'll be my new campaign slogan. What would I say to my 12-year-old self? I don't actually know. I'd love to say that I could stand there with complete conviction of going, it's going to be okay. these things don't matter in the long run. But I mean, I'm 36 now and they seem to still be manifesting in some sort of way. I would try my best to just go, not block out the outside world, but try and be not settled. What's the word? At ease. Try and be at ease a little bit more. And then I would tell them some mad stuff. Be like, this happened and this happened. I think I would say you're doing all right. Give yourself a break. You know, I think that's what I'd say. I don't know if I'd say everything's going to be okay, but I'd say give yourself a break.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
That was James's story, our first episode and second episode of Explored Body Image, and it's something I've spoken about at length and something I struggle with every day. This is also my second episode talking to another man about their issues and this subject. For those that know James and have seen him perform, it's like two different characters, and that's like many in the creative industries. Off stage, he is a gentle man of few words, but on stage, he is a juggernaut. I found it very emotional hearing him speak about this, and some of the points he makes throughout the podcast gave me more to think about. When he talks about people posting pictures of him and how they feel they are being kind by sharing those photos, he then has to look at these whilst having, as he describes, a hatred for it as something that many of us who understand find one of the hardest things. You're effectively being faced with your demon, and for someone in the limelight, I can't imagine how much that plays with your mind. One of the most beautiful moments, however, is when he talks about his world with his wife and son and how he likes himself. The focus has shifted away clearly from his own thoughts, and the weight of that emotion and sheer love he has for those in his immediate environment is a wonderful distraction. He talks about how school has engraved itself on his life in terms of the experience with the weight he put on due to steroids. This highlights further the assumptions that we make about people's physical appearances. We don't know the reasons behind this by simply looking at someone, and this is made worse further by the focus being on a child. James talks about hating competition. This stems from school right through to now and his career in the music industry. He highlights how we can inject tremendous honesty into things like songwriting and lyrics with no judgment or sense of shame. But if perhaps we raise this in conversation with people, it's faced often with awkwardness. James is a talent. And it's that which shines through, not his appearance. It's his fierceness, his kindness, his humanity that make him who he is. And as he says, ultimately, the harder subjects need to be easier to talk about. If you have experienced or experiencing anything described in this episode, you will find support information in the text with this podcast. A Sonic Hug podcast is recorded, produced and edited by me, Halina Rafai. We are also part of Scotland's podcasting network, The Big Light. Until next time, deep breaths.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, the new Queen Sleep Number 360 P5 Smart Bed is only $17.99. Save $600. Only for a limited time. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.